Welcome in, family, the Sourdough Squad. We see you guys. First of all, we have some developments on our hands. Um, if you're seeing me clear, which hopefully you are, that means that we may have had a breakthrough with the Wi-Fi situation. And again, we're working through the Wi. We've had such tough Wi-Fi throughout, oh god, months. So if we're looking crystal clear, we're sounding crystal clear, drop a thumbs up, let me know, because this is big developments. This is really big developments for this channel. um Shout out everyone hopping in. I figured what we could discuss today is get a little bit more. We were just pretty all over the place yesterday, just trying to take in more of the emotions and all that kind of stuff. We've been able to watch it back, look at it. Of course, gonna get your guys' feedbacks, but I figured how we'd kind of go through this. Let's just go position by position. We'll talk about all these guys, how they performed, how them forming, and how we can either indicate potential issues or how that translates into fixing corrections, things of that nature, and we can go from there. um, so the first thing, I'm going to start with the defense, and I want to start with the players specifically. We'll go defensive players first. We'll go through offensive players second, and then we'll land on coaching last. And then we can kind of freestyle at that point, take questions and comments and all those types of things. But let's start with the safety position. So yesterday, and for the first 3 weeks of the year, we have seen a lot of Jimmy Ward, a lot of Jaquiski Tart, and we have seen Talanoa Hufanga sprinkled in there a little bit. Talanoa, the rookie fifth rounder, got some run against the Packers. He didn't do a ton, but he was out there in certain situations and doing his best to fly around the field. But in regards to the safety position, um, hey, Joshua, I look pretty crystal clear today, don't I? I think we got it squared away. But diving into Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tart, uh, looking at their performances over the last 3 weeks, I'm very happy with those two. Especially Jaquiski Tart, considering that he's at a bit of a disadvantage regarding missing a huge portion of training camp, huge portion of the offseason program. Really happy with how Jaquiski Tart has been able to acclimate and really come up to speed. And he's been playing really well. I feel like Jaquiski Tart has actually been performing as one of the higher end defensive players on this team, along with Jimmy Ward. I think Jimmy Ward has been doing a pretty serviceable job of locking up tight ends and man coverage, as well as just being the last line of defense. I know a lot of the play that is burned into a lot of people's heads was the Detroit play where he got burned by Swift. But for the most part, if you really go back and you focus on Jimmy Ward is all over the place. Been the last line of defense in a lot of situations. I think more than we would like to look at and like to admit. But for the most part, Jimmy Ward has just been flying around, doing his job and playing his responsibilities. So when we're starting to look at the defense as a whole, trying to pinpoint like where there might be some potential issues and where we might see lapses. I don't think we can literally look at the safeties right now and say they're a huge concern, again, because they're having to clean up a lot of stuff. They are. And now, is there going to be the occasion where they get beat here or there? Of course. But I think if we look at the entire body of work over 3 weeks, I think that the safety position has done a phenomenal job. If we were going to grade them on a scale of, like, let's say 1 to 10, I would say that the safeties, they're probably playing at about like an 8.3. I'll call them like an 8.3. I still think there's room for improvement. We can still tighten some things up, but I would say an 8.3 out of 10. Pretty solid in my opinion. Again, if we're going to translate that to a letter grade, that comes around like a B. I would feel comfortable with that, and with how those guys are performing. So in regards to improvements from that position, um, I think they're doing a serviceable job, and of course, as you guys know, pressure from the defensive line, cornerbacks playing in position that helps the safeties quite a bit. So considering they're the last line of defense, um, I feel okay with what they're doing. Do I feel like there's room for improvement? We can eliminate all negative play, can eliminate all miscues, and then we're working at a 10 out of a 10 right at that point. Um, but specifically, again, their whole body of work through 3 weeks. Also looking at the Packers game specifically, I thought they did a good enough job to get the job done. So I'm gonna go 8.3 out of 10. Let's get into the cornerback position because I think this is going to be the one where like we're going to definitely have some conversations regarding the issues surrounding thing we need to talk about when we're identifying the cornerback position, um, is injury. Injury so far has been the biggest concern regarding this position. Again, it all starts with Jason Barrett going down against Detroit. That just immediately sucks the wind out of all that. He's a leader of that room. Like he is the leader of that room. When you lose the leader of your like position room, your position group, that takes a mental toll. It really does. And so right off the bat this year, we've already been at a disadvantage regarding our cornerback position. And going into this season, we knew we knew that this was going to be a point of emphasis throughout the year. We didn't understand it was going to be a point of emphasis right away. That is the difference. Like you go back to anyone who covered this team throughout training camp, throughout preseason, you were aware that the cornerback depth was not the strong suit of this team. And so what we're now seeing is what is occurring based on the war of attrition that is football. Actually looked really good. I mean, like not like great, but he looks serviceable again for a guy who was sitting on the couch all off season, just been on the team for 2 weeks. I feel okay. I feel okay with that. With Josh Norman and his performance. But again, I don't know if you guys saw the hit that Aaron Jones delivered to his chest plate. Dude's got swollen lungs. He's gotten some internal bleeding and things like that. He posted today that he feels like he could be ready to go this week against Seattle. That would be great news. But again, it's this kind of trickle down effect that starts with injury at the cornerback position. K'Wan Williams goes out. I believe K'Wan Williams has a calf strain. Don't quote me on that. But K'Wan Williams goes out, and he's been our slot guy up until this point. But now that is in question. We don't know as of right now what his availability will be for week 3. And again, we're going up against DK Metcalf. We're going up against Tyler Lockett. I don't know if they're going to have Dwayne Eskridge available or not. He's another shifty, really solid slot guy. And we know who's throwing them the football. So that becomes a huge issue with K'Wan Williams, Josh Norman. This was Emmanuel Mosley's first start this year. Emmanuel Mosley's first start. Again, Emmanuel Mosley's another guy who was behind the 8 ball in regards to offseason preparation, preseason preparation, regular season preparation. He missed the first 2 weeks. He missed almost the entirety of training camp. I can't stress enough. Like, again, yes, these guys are pros. They should be able to just like step onto a field and be pros and like show their athletic ability and show all that. But there's a reason you practice nearly every day. There's a reason why you rep it. There's a reason why you're available. You have to go through the motions. You have to build the muscle memory. You have to build the comfortability being able to be in position and just turn that what you learn in the classroom into instinct. So Emmanuel Mosley, I think he had an okay game. He had a nice pass breakup to Devontae on that long ball. I felt like he found himself out of position on a couple plays. But I think that comes along with knocking off the rust. Again, we have to remember Emmanuel Mosley is rusty. He's probably the most rusty player on this defense right now, at least from a starting standpoint. So we'll see. I'm not ready. I still think Emmanuel Mosley is in ramp up mode. So as he continues to perform and get better, and settle down, and again, just get back in the groove of being a football player and not rehabbing and nursing hamstring injuries and doing all that kind of stuff. I think Emmanuel Mosley will continue to ascend, but again, we got to keep Emmanuel healthy. Really hard time staying on the field, going back to training camp, going back to preseason, going back to regular season. So again, the main issue is injury. And then we already talked about K1. And because K1 goes out, Diamador Lenore, who was playing outside when Josh Norman goes down, you now have to kick Diamador Lenore into the slot, bring Dante Johnson, 9 lives Dante Johnson out. And we know how that goes. Again, Dante Johnson gets a real bad rap, but I get it. Like, I understand, like, the fans' frustration. Player himself. Again, I think he's just, again, we know Dante Johnson. He's a fringe guy. He's a fringe roster guy, has been since Trent Baalke drafted him. He's just always been this fringe roster guy. I think he's a great locker room guy from everything I've heard. Like, inside that locker room, these guys love this guy. So that speaks for something. And but if Don Johnson is playing significant snaps, it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign for the San Francisco 49ers. And so I think the most concerning thing, again, I understand the reasoning. I think one of the most concerning things that we don't really talk about anymore, because we kind of like identified it really early in training camp and just was like, all right, it is what it is. But Ambry Thomas, the lack of Ambry Thomas, the impact of Ambry Thomas, again, we are so thin at cornerback. And when you select a cornerback in the 3rd round and he can't see the field, that I think is one of the biggest concerns. Again, you see the Lenore jersey behind me. Lenore has started games. He's been serviceable. Now, we remember the play against the Packers, right? Maybe didn't play the right depth based on the coverage, but he still was close. Like, the ball went right over his fingertips. He almost broke that thing up. But he's out there. He's gaining experience. Diamador Lenore was the better cornerback in camp. And so that's why he's getting the opportunity. But again, it just feels unfortunate that a 3rd round draft pick from this year's draft class, they went after a guy who did. And again, I don't think it's all Ambry's fault either. Like, I think Ambry, again, you don't play in 2020. You're out for a year. Again, just like I was talking about with Emmanuel Mosley, like, you gotta rep it. You gotta go through the motions. Just working out on your own, running drills, running cone drills, like, it's not the same. It's not the same at all. And you lose essentially a year of development from Ambry Thomas because he didn't play in 2020. And then you bring him in and you realize, like, oh, wow, he's not developed exactly where we needed him to be. And you see everything. Obviously, you want to see your high draft picks get involved and play. I don't know. I don't know if he's ready. Again, what we saw in training camp, he didn't look ready. I would say one of the biggest things that I would observe of Ambry Thomas at training camp was he felt like he was a step behind. It just felt like he was a step behind. You see the athletic ability, you see the athletic profile, you see that, like, he's got good size, and you see the speed. He's got really fluid hips. You see a lot of those kind of measurable things from Ambry Thomas. But what you see when it's team period is he's just a step behind. And again, that could be completely mental processing. that could have nothing to do with this ability. It could just be pure mental processing. Again, this dude went from sitting out a year to now going against Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Mohamed Sanu, Juwan Jennings, like all these really, really good wide receivers, and he just would be out of position all the time. So the hope is we're going to have to see Ambry Thomas this year. I think we all need to kind of like wrap our heads around that at this point, based on how this cornerback room is just being decimated at this point. The 49ers are going to have to look to Ambry Thomas soon. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But now with Dre Kirkpatrick, who, again, he was a week behind Josh Norman. So we could very well see Dre Kirkpatrick be the starter. We very, very well could see Dre Kirkpatrick be the starter tomorrow. I'm sorry, not tomorrow. Against Seattle, if Josh Norman can't go. It's going to be really interesting. I imagine if Josh Norman can go, it's going to be Josh Norman, Emmanuel Moseley on the outside, Diamador Lenore at the slot if K1 can't go. If Josh Norman can't go and Dre Kirkpatrick isn't ready, we're walking out our starting cornerbacks, Emmanuel Moseley and Dante Johnson. Those are going to be our starting outs. And if you want to talk about issues and things like that, that's tough. That's tough to be thin at that position. It's really tough to be thin at cornerback. I like to, again, I can only reference my personal experience. I didn't play in the NFL. I didn't play at that level. But I just remember when I was playing at DVC up there in Pleasant Hill, we had a fantastic front seven. Our defensive line was all D1 athletes. Our linebackers were all D1 athletes. Our entire front seven were D1 scholarship athletes. Absolutely phenomenal front seven. Like one of the best. Again, for what we were, like amazing. Community college, fire, so good. Like preseason All-Americans, like we had studs in our front seven. But you know what happened? Do you know what happened? Let's go, DVC. We in the building. Let's go. Go Vikings. Let's go. So you just like, again, you can have an amazing front seven, but our cornerbacks got demolished. Our starting cornerbacks were good. They got hurt. And then we were just like, we got to a point where we were like at 6-string cornerbacks. Our front seven was rendered useless. That front seven that was so dominant was rendered useless because we had no coverage behind them. So again, these injuries become I think the biggest concern at this point. I think that's the biggest concern is the injuries to the cornerback position and what that means for the depth, because we didn't have the depth behind it to begin with. And so now we're running into those injury situations. So this week is going to be really important in regards to the health of Josh Norman, the health of K'Wan Williams, to understand what is going to occur on the outside as we continue to go up against one of our toughest tests of the season so far, Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. So if we haven't got through the whole thing yet, we're only on cornerbacks right now. But if we had gone through the whole thing, I would still say the injuries to the cornerback position is the number one issue from a personnel standpoint, if that makes sense to you guys. From a personnel standpoint, the injuries to the cornerback position is our number one concern. So we're going to have to see how that continues to progress through the season. Again, we're going to need guys to step up. Ambry Thomas will have to be available. He absolutely will have to be available. I believe Clinton Dix is on the Raiders practice squad. He chose to not sign with our practice squad. So that gives you some insight into a little bit of his time here. Typically, if you have if you were in team with the camp and they invite you back to the practice squad, it's really rare that you decline. Speaks more to, I think, his thoughts and path towards playing time. Who knows? We might have Clinton Dix at corner right now at this rate. But anyways, let's get into I think linebacker continues to be one of our most stout positions on the team. Azeez Al-Shaair led the team in tackles with 10 total tackles, 5 solo. I think Azeez just continues to showcase his natural ability. It's a combination of effort and natural ability in regards to that. Actually, before we go on to linebackers, you guys are bringing up a good point. You guys are bringing up good points. I don't want to gloss over them because I think it has to be discussed. Of what is. We talk about the injuries at the cornerback position. Well, how do we fix this? How do we bring in more help? So this is the thing with Richard, man. This is I don't think the 49ers. Oh, we signed a cornerback. Hold the hell on. The 49ers have signed Buster Skrine. Okay. Buster Skrine, former Bear. I know him more as a Cleveland Bear. So as we're talking about literally what are the 49ers going to do? Who are they going to add? They're about to add someone. All right. So let me get this posted. Hold on one second. So literally as someone put it up, if someone could put in the chat the 49ers sign, or I can do it right here. Hold on. 49ers intend to sign cornerback Buster Skrine. Right? So give me 1 second here. Buster Skrine. Boom. All right. So this is where we're at. So this just came through. Give me 1 second so I can get this out. Hold on 1 second. So perfect timing, right? Perfect timing. We were literally just talking about what are the 49ers going to do to be able, like, how are they gonna get fix this problem at the cornerback position? And right now, this is the solution that we have. Again, we'll pull up some Buster Skrine stats here in a second. But let me get this post out, and then we'll get to the bottom of it. Timing though is perfect. We planned that with Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. We definitely planned that. So as we were talking about, we know this is going to be a war of attrition. I think this signing also indicates Josh Norman's availability. I think if Josh Norman like really was good to go and could be available, you're not making this move, and or K'Wan Williams. If either one or both of like one of the other is able to go, I don't know if maybe they're making this move or not because they already have Dre Kirkpatrick on the team, but now I feel like this could be an indication of, like we talked about, Josh Norman's availability and or K'Wan's availability at this point. So let me get this thing out. The 49ers intend to sign cornerback Buster Skrine per reports. Beautiful. All right, so we got some movement here. The transaction wire has been released. 49ers Web Zone. I am credit 49ers Web Zone for at least catching my eye on that. So let me get this thing out, and then we'll get rocking. Sorry about the posting. 49ers Web Zone. with the assist. And we'll get this thing rocking. All right, hold on one sec. Almost there, guys. Almost there. The 49ers says, I'm going to screen. Tweet. Send tweet. All right, we got it out. We did it. All right, now let's look up some Buster Skrine stats. Where's Buster Skrine been lately? Again, I know who he is. I have a baseline understanding of who he is and like what he's capable of. Okay. So this Buster Skrine is the mold of a slot cornerback. He is 5'9", 185. So what this tells us so with this situation going down, this absolutely feels like a K1 not being available situation. Because you have to watch the moves, you have to see who they're adding, and that there's really a difference between size and stature of slot corners versus outside corners. Outside corners are going to be longer, they're going to be rangier, and all that kind of stuff. Again, Buster Skrine was a 5th round pick back in 2011. He's been in the league, he's been around, he's 32 years old, so he's not a spring chicken by any means. Again, he started out his career with Cleveland. There was overlap with Kyle Shanahan. So Kyle Shanahan, Buster Skrine, there is actually a natural relationship there already, at least from the surface, based on their time and how it overlapped. After 2015, Skrine was signed by the New York Jets. He signed a 4-year, $25 million deal, which is a pretty solid deal, which again kind of gives you a little bit understanding of kind of his baseline talent at least 6 years ago. Oh, this is interesting. So Buster Skrine signed a 3-year, $16.6 million contract. Bear 2019. He was released this March, so he's been a free agent since March, and was released a year early from his contract. So we'll see. We'll see if Buster Skrine can come in. Again, he's a veteran presence. The thing about signing veterans, like we've seen with Josh Norman, the acclimation time is much smaller. Like comparing to Ambry Thomas, his acclimation time, his window to acclimate to the NFL is going to be a large window. But right now with Buster Skrine, he should be able to come in and be able to compete right away. So we'll see. We'll see what happens now with Josh Norman. If that means, Josh Norman's out, we put Diamador Lenore on the outside, we put Emmanuel Mosley on the outside, and then we stick Skrine in the slot at this point. Sean asked if there's any injury concerns on Skrine. I am just doing a quick look. I don't really see anything that's jumping out at me. Some quick stats on Buster Skrine. He's compiled 563 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, 85 pass deflections, 9 interceptions. So he's been productive as a veteran in this league. Not seeing anything that would really indicate injury. So we'll see. We'll see. Obviously I got to do a little bit more digging. But he's from Tennessee, SEC guy. So again, we'll see. We knew this was coming. We knew this was a likely outcome. If again there was another injury, and again how we're envisioning this is that this is a K1 situation. This is a K1 issue. This is a K1 injury. K1 might not be going this week. So we'll find out. We'll have a better indication with the first injury report comes out tomorrow. So let me just make sure No other roster moves were made. Rocking. How are you going to give me the spinning wheel? We were just talking about the cornerback position. And so this came down perfect timing. Does it fix again? We're diving into the issues. Does it fix the issue of our cornerback injuries? No. Like, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say this isn't going to be a quick fix. Like, this isn't going to be something that's like oh, we're saved now. I think he's going to be serviceable. I think we can probably expect, level of serviceability like Josh Norman. I don't think this guy's going to come in and just like blow our socks off and be like, "Oh wow, Buster Skrine, how did all these teams miss on you? How have you been sitting?" Like, I don't necessarily believe that's going to happen. But like I said, he's a veteran. He's been around. He understands the game. And right now, with some of our cornerbacks, that's the hardest battle. So he's going to be a guy who'll be able to fit right in. He understands coverages and he understands responsibilities. So it's a lot easier to be plug and play, at least in my opinion, for him. So we'll see how it develops. But I wouldn't be shocked to see him getting some playing time this week if K1 really is out. So, all right, that's our breaking news for the middle of the show. Breaking news: the 49ers will intend to sign Buster Skrine. Great job by James pulling some of his stats. He pulled that quickly too. So you can see some of the stats on the screen. He's a veteran. He's been around. All that kind of stuff. Now, I don't think the 49ers stop here. I think they still need to be active. They still need to be active. I think they should add another one. And if they want to add another one, let's bring Dantzler. Bands will make him Dantzler. Bring in Dantzler. Again, he was inactive one, had a good week 2, and then he was either inactive again or had just very limited playing time week 3, and he's been very vocal about getting out of there. For Instagram account 49ers Focus has been, making some posts. Dantzler has been liking DMs, been liking comments about getting traded to the Niners. So at least from Dantzler's social media presence, Dantzler has been interacting with 49ers accounts and liking posts and comments and messages that indicate that 49ers could be interested in trading for Dantzler at this time. So Dantzler might be open to coming down here. I think we would be open to having Dantzler as well. So if it's not working out right now, even with the addition of Buster Skrine, if it's not working out with the Vikings, get his ass over here. We need reinforcements at this point. Pretty soon, Sourdough Brad's going to have to come off the sideline and play some cornerback for the 49ers. Watch out now. Watch out. So, again, perfect timing. We just ended the cornerback segment. The biggest thing was the concerns, the issues with this team right now is injury. And this is the Buster Skrine signing is a direct result of that concern. Get used to this, guys. Get used to this. Like, there's a path, there's a range of outcome where we're signing a new cornerback every week. We don't want to be there. We don't want to get there. And we don't want that to be like our reality. But think about it. We are there. It's 3 weeks. We're week 3. We've signed a cornerback each week. So not a great start. Not a great start. Hopefully some of these guys stick and we can make it work. But until then, again, I was talking about how stout I've been on a team where I've had a exceptional front seven, like really damn good. But our cornerbacks were ass. And at that point, like, it rendered our front seven useless because they couldn't cover. So we're dangerously close. Like, we're dangerously close to that. But we'll see how that develops and how that goes through. Again, getting back to the front seven now. Linebackers, Fred, Aziz, Marcel Harris, Flanagan Fowles, an injury away from big issue as of right now. Fred Warner, Aziz Al-Shaair, they're doing a good job. They're doing a really, really good job, in my opinion. I think they're both playing at a very high level. Fred Warner, we know he's the best linebacker in the NFL. But Aziz, he's showing that he can. Again, it was kind of like, remember when we had Patrick Willis? We had Patrick Willis in there, and he had established himself as this amazing, amazing linebacker, right? And then the 49ers draft Navarro Bowman in the third round out of Penn State. And you're like, okay, he had great traits, like insane traits, but we didn't really know. He's not a high profile guy. But then when we saw Bowman playing next to Willis, we were like, damn, he's playing almost just as good as Willis. And that was able to elevate Bowman at one point to them becoming the best dual linebackers in the NFL. The ability to have both Willis and Bowman, Willis being there to allow Bowman to elevate his game. I feel like we are seeing something similar with Fred Warner and Aziz Al-Shaair. Fred Warner right now is the standard of linebacker in the NFL, and I think we're seeing Aziz Al-Shaair raise his level to be able to kind of be really like a partner in crime with Fred. Whereas Aziz, if he can play consistently at this level for all 17 games this year as a starter, again with Dre Greenlaw out, he has an opportunity to be talked about in a much higher regard than he's talked about now. So that is a positive. That is a positive. We saw some Marcel Harris yesterday or on Sunday. I don't know if the issue or injury, Marcel has jumped Flanagan Fowles in the depth chart because if you go back to Detroit, we saw Flanagan Fowles play a decent amount. I would say we saw Flanagan Fowles play more than Marcel Harris in that game, but we saw more Marcel Harris against the Green Bay Packers. So we'll see. But again, with Fred and Aziz, at least manning the middle, I feel pretty confident about that. Marcel Harris, Flanagan Fowles, again, playing either. I'm not sure if they're playing Will or Sam. I'm going to leave that TBD at this time. TBD, again, it's a drop off from Dre Greenlaw. When Aziz was your linebacker, it was a really good situation because, again, if we're running nickel, we're dropping that third linebacker out and bringing him off, bringing in K1 at that time. But Aziz was allowing us to run a lot of stuff out of our base scheme because of how well Aziz, Greenlaw, and Fred could all cover. So it allowed us to do a lot schematically that I don't think we're able to do right now. And I think that is something that we need to remember that with Fred, Aziz, and Greenlaw, from a coverage standpoint, that was probably the best coverage unit in the NFL from a linebacker standpoint. You lose Greenlaw, now you don't have those three guys anymore. You just got two of them. You just have two of them. And so that means you're probably playing more nickel than you want to be playing. Or you're playing Marcel Harris more than you want to because he has coverage experience. So you can't overstate the loss of Dre Greenlaw and how that could be affecting the way D'Amico Ryans is calling out certain types of coverages, certain different types of things. Dre Greenlaw did a lot for this defense. Can't forget about that. But like I said, Fred and Aziz, I'm okay with. If that means we got to play more nickel, but we're signing nickel cornerbacks off the street right now. Again, you see the trickle down. There's a trickle down, man. There's a trickle down. Sup, Don? Good to see you. Always good to see you around these parts. Always good to see you around these parts. So again, trickle down effect. Trickle down effects. It starts with the cornerbacks. It then affects the linebackers because again, we don't have those three main pieces with Dre Greenlaw being out. That then affects and changes the way the coach calls a game. and then we get down to the defensive line. Let's get down to the defensive line. I didn't grade cornerbacks, or I didn't grade linebackers. From a cornerback perspective, through 3 weeks, taking into account the injuries and performance and all that kind of stuff, I'm doing it on a 1 to 10 scale. I would probably have to say our secondary is grading out. Again, we understand the context, so I'm not going to go through that again. But just based on pure production, we're probably operating at like a 6.8. 6.8, and I would imagine maybe some of you guys would say that is even generous. Confident backs are working at about a 6.8 out of 10. Not exactly where we want them to be. Think there's an opportunity for Emmanuel Mosley to get even better. Diamador has performed okay. Again, this is a 3-week grade, not just a Packers grade. It's a 3-week grade. If it was just a Packers grade, it would probably be a lot lower. Probably would be a little lower. But over the 3 weeks, the cumulative body of work, 6.8. With the injuries, the unfortunately, that's the scary part. The injuries mean that the grade can keep dropping. So that's the scary part. Something we got to just be ultra cognizant of. Linebackers, grade-wise, I'm going to go ahead and give the linebackers a 9.2. I really, really believe that the linebackers are playing at an extremely high level, considering their down Greenlaw. It's become so much has been put on Aziz's plate. Guys like Marcel and Flanagan Fowles are going to have to come in. Again, Fred is a huge reason why. But Aziz and his emergence of those two in Dre Greenlaw's absent, I feel really, really damn confident saying they're playing at probably one of the highest levels on the entire team. And then let's get into defensive line. We obviously understand who Ford, DJ Jones, Contavious Street, Kevin Givens got hurt last week, which means Kerr was back this week. Samson Ebukam, Arden Key. I think we actually would like to see a little bit more out of this group. I think we would. I can't say I'm completely shocked by it. Again, we've had the same conversation about Bosa, right? Bosa is a dude who's ramping up from an ACL injury. He barely participated in training camp. He didn't participate in preseason. So this is his preseason. This is his training camp. He's knocking the rust off with Bosa. Well, guess what? Kinlaw's doing that as well. Kinlaw barely participated in training camp. Kinlaw barely participated in preseason. So Kinlaw's doing the same. Kinlaw is also knocking the rust off. D Ford was more of a participant throughout the situation. And we saw D Ford have a really good first game, but we really haven't seen much from Ford the last 2 games. DJ Jones has been okay. I think can take definitely service. I know he's been getting a lot of crap, but I do want to single out a play where he shot across the guard's face, was able to create instant pressure, and essentially got a tackle for no gain. And it was all on Kerr. So I do want to highlight a positive play that he did have against the Packers. But, I think we would want to see more stoutness up front in the middle. But also with Samson Ebukam hasn't really been able to make a bunch of noise as of late. Same with Arden Key. So the defensive line is getting pushed around a little bit. Again, we talked about it yesterday about how Bosa is consistently getting chipped and consistently getting dropped. by wide receivers, by tight ends. Baldy did a breakdown about it today, essentially saying like, look, like if they're going to continue to put help on the edges, the whole point of trying to scheme up and get Bosa one-on-one with tackles, that becomes a moot point. Like it doesn't doesn't work when he's getting double and triple teamed and all those types of things. So one of the things that Baldy had said was just put him over the 3-tech, switch it up, see what happens, because it's not again, he's still ramping up, but on top of it, the offenses are doing a really good job of kind of help taking him away. So again, how do we counter that? What's our counter moves? What are our counter moves? I thought Kinlaw had a pretty decent game. I thought Kinlaw did a really solid job of eating up double teams. There was a couple plays where I saw the guard and the tackle, or the guard and the center, just completely engage on Kinlaw, and neither one of them could get to the backer. And that's exactly what I want out of Javon Kinlaw. I want Javon Kinlaw to be a space eater. I want him to take up double teams. I want him to be able to allow our linebackers to flow sideline to sideline. And you do that by being able to use your front four to take over. You got to make them block you. So when we're seeing success in the run game from other teams, we're seeing a lot of these offensive linemen work their combo blocks and get to our linebackers and create running lanes as a result. So would definitely like to see this unit kind of take a step forward. I also, like I said, I also have like I think there's a rhyme and reason. There's a lot of these guys that didn't participate a lot this offseason, and they're still. Kinlaw's been dealing with the knee. Bosa's still coming back to speed. Ford's still coming back to speed. Street's out, or I'm sorry, Givens is out, and all that kind of stuff. So if I have to give a grade to this unit for the first 3 weeks of the year, based on expectation, based on everything we saw in training camp, I'm probably sitting at about a 7.5 out of 10. I'd say they're playing at about like a solid C level, 7.5 out of 10. I think there's plenty of room for improvement. I don't think they've been absolutely terrible and all that kind of stuff, but I think there's absolutely room for improvement. I want to see 4 guys be able to generate pressure on their own. I think that's the goal for this group, because we need all the back end coverage help that we can get. And Sean says it right here. Maurice Hurst returns. I'm super excited about this. I'm ready to throw Maurice Hurst right there in the middle next to Kinlaw. I think Maurice Hurst is going to be I think he really could be a big time player for us, especially right now, with how we're kind of it's a war of attrition right now. So I really think Maurice Hurst could provide a spark, especially from the interior of the offense or of the defense, being able to eat up center guards, be able to win against center guards. I think we just really need that right now. We need 2 guys up front to just be able to control the interior of opposing offensive lines. I really think that is going to be a huge need. So the hope is that Maurice Hurst, coming off of IR, who will be activated tomorrow, that he comes in and falls out, because as of right now, we really, really need that. Let me see. I'm just looking to make sure there was no. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So, all right. K'Wan Williams is going to be out for a couple weeks. All right. Hold on a second. So here's the official word on K'Wan Williams. K'Wan Williams is dealing with the calf strain and is expected to be out for a couple weeks. A couple weeks. Oh, I forgot Armstead. I didn't even talk about Armstead. How did I forget Armstead in the D line? Armstead has been one of our better D linemen. I forgot about Armstead. Hold on one second though, because we got a K1 injury. So the injury report right now is that K1 Williams strained calf will likely be a multiple week injury. So hold on one sec. Let me get this post out, and then we'll talk about that for a second. Because again, we knew when we saw this report come through that it had to be in relation to an injury, and how tall he was. I'm not going to pretend like I covered Buster Skrine's career. It's really easy to see that we signed a slot corner. So that will obviously is a clear indication of what's going on with K1, which is a shame because, again, we need all the help. Did that really never send? Oh, I was about to say. Sheesh. All right. 1 second. Posting. 49ers cornerback K1 Williams is expected to miss multiple weeks with a calf strain per Adam Kaplan. 49ers expected to miss multiple weeks with a calf strain. Woo! Man. 49ers can't catch a break when it comes to injuries. They literally cannot catch a break when it comes to injuries. Curse of candlestick apparently is a real thing. I don't even think it's a curse of candlestick at this point. It's just a curse of Trent Baalke. I blame Trent Baalke for everything that goes on with the 49ers. This is the Trent Baalke curse. This isn't the curse of candlestick. This is the Trent Baalke curse. Jeez, man. That's tough. All right. So, again, we understand the news. 49ers signed cornerback Buster Skrine, slot corner. Our current slot corner and starting slot corner, K1 Williams, is now expected to miss multiple weeks with the calf strain. So all the moves are making it's the curse of the broken Wi-Fi. That's what it is. It's the curse of the broken Wi-Fi. Oh, Bobby, Philly fan, welcome. Thank you and enjoy your time. Please enjoy the content. Take your time, pull up a seat, hit the like button while you're here, shoot me a subscribe while you're here. Enjoy listening about the team that went into your home and whooped you. So enjoy. We're glad to have you, fan. We're glad to have you. Sit on down. Just come join us, and learn why your team is not good and why you got beat. So we can do that too. Enjoy, Bobby. Enjoy, Bobby. Come in here and oh, I have my ways. I do it all on my phone. Phone is the quickest. So all right. Again, we're juggling some news, getting through it. All right, let's plow through this. All right, so we officially got through the defense. I didn't really talk about Armstead. I think Armstead has actually been doing an all right job. I know Eric Armstead is. It's a bit of that kind of situation. Where we really wanted Defoe. Defoe was the favorite son. He was the he was the firstborn, and it's like we treat Eric Armstead like he's the redheaded stepchild, for a lack of a better comparison. I think Eric Armstead deserves some credit for what he's doing this year. I think he's been really good. I really think that Eric Armstead has done a lot better job than I anticipated he would do. I think Eric Armstead is doing what he needs to do. I would love to see more of him, especially right now over the 3 tech in base downs. Again, we're talking about how the 49ers are getting moved in between on the interior defensive line. You know how you fix that? Put Eric Armstead over the guard. Put Eric Armstead over the guard. Put him next to Kinlaw and just rotate these guys at defensive end. Let's just bring him down. Just bring him down, put him over the guard. We need it. That's my fix. Like I said, grade for the D-line, 1 out of 10, 7.5. I would say they're okay. They're okay. I think there's plenty of room for improvement, and they will reach that. Right now, 7.5. All right, let's transition to the offense. Obviously, we have been distracted by cornerback signings and cornerback injuries and type of stuff. So we're a little bit behind. So I'll try and power through this. Offensive line. Again, my specialty. A lot of people's point of contention with this team, especially after yesterday, which I find to be, or after Sunday's game, which I find to be interesting. But anyways, was it the 49ers offensive line's best game? No, I don't necessarily think so. But I also don't think they played as poorly as people were coming down on them. And I'll try to explain some of my thought processes. With Trent Williams, he got beat on one play really badly. And it was a lapse in, I don't know if it was communication. I don't know if it was just a brain fart. I don't know what's going on in regards to why he missed, but he missed because it was a mental issue. Like, it was a mental lapse. It was the one where you had the free rusher off the edge. The offensive line should have been shifting to the left. If you're shifting to the left as a left tackle, you are on an island by yourself, unless, of course, you have a tight end to chip or you have a running back to help behind you. He didn't have either. And when you have an out, I think he was almost, the defender was like in the wide 9. Trent Williams just didn't either get the call, he went the wrong way. I don't know. It was a miscommunication. He went down and blocked Laken Tomlinson's guy, and the other guy just ran straight in, unblocked. Again, we're with Trent, from a physical standpoint, from a dominant standpoint, like 10 out of 10. Trent Williams is a 10 out of 10. If I had to grade him, 10 out of 10. He's a dime. Trent Williams is a dime around here. But he did make a mistake. And that's what it was. It was a misblocking assignment. He went the wrong way. I don't know what happened, and let a free rusher in to smack the crap out of Jimmy. I think Lincoln has done a really good job. I think both Trent and Lincoln have been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic throughout this year. First 3 games. If I had to grade the left side, Trent and Lincoln, I mean, we're talking like 9.6, like 9.6 range, like 9.6 out of 10. Like, Trent Williams and Laken Tomlinson, the tandem of them working together has been really well. I really like it. I really like what they're doing. They're doing a really good job. We saw Mac he had a rough game. He had a bit of a bumpy game. He did well. He didn't like do horrible the whole time. He just had like 1 or 2 plays that really stood out. One of them was I think it was the second run of the game. It was the pitch to Trey Sermon. where Trey Sermon tried to hit the edge. But you had Kenny Clark outside shaded to Mac's right. It's a pitch right. So what that means is Mac has to get his head across Clark and turn him and essentially reach block him to be able to stop any inside penetration. It's the most important play. It's the most important block to be able to get like an outside counter, or not an outside counter, outside pitch, outside zone working. You can't have interior pressure from the one tech. So what had happened is that Kenny Clark's a really good interior defensive tackle. I don't know if you guys know this. Like, he's very good. Like, he's really good. I think he's one of the better interior defensive linemen in the NFL. And so what had happened on that play, it was simple. Like, he exploded off the snap. He got into Alex Mack while Alex Mack was in the motion of getting into his reach step. And as a result, Clark hit Mac off balance, and Clark is strong as hell, and he had a great get off, and he just went straight up. How you would counter that is you would have Brunskill stay a second longer. You'd have him stay a second longer to help and actually turn that into a double team and then get to backer, whereas Brunskill immediately went to backer. So that is an adjustment you can make. Again, that's a hard block. Trying to reach Kenny Clark on an outside shade in that situation, that's difficult. Like, it's a hard block. Didn't get any help from Brunskill. So I have a little bit of sympathy for Mac, again, as a center. That's a hard-ass block to make. I think people need to understand it's a hard-ass block to make. It is not easy. Like, it wasn't just a lapse. Like, it was Kenny Clark exploded out of his stance to be able to get in there, create pressure, and blow up the play. So it's a great individual effort by Clark as well. And, Mac had the fumble, or like the weird snap where he like hopped it. I've honestly never seen like a center like hop. Like, typically with centers, you're overshooting. You're going too hard. Like, you're worried about not getting it there, so you over snap it and it goes over their head. It's very rare that you see them like not get it there. Like, typically, if you're going to see a snap mistake, unless he hit his own butt with the shotgun snap, it's interesting. Something that we'll keep an eye on. And I know Mac, Brunskill, McGlinchey have become a bit of punching bags this week. I kind of understand it. I kind of don't. It's a bit of both. I kind of understand it. I kind of don't. But here's the thing. With Brunskill, we've talked about this. We've talked about this for a really long time. Brunskill wins with speed. He wins with technique. He's not going to do very well against power interior defensive linemen. We know this. There's a reason why Brunskill is only getting paid $800,000 a year to be a starting right guard in the NFL. Brunskill, like I said, he's really good at working the outside zone. He's really good at reach blocking. He's really good at getting to the second level. He's really good when the zone scheme is working. But when it becomes more of like a power scheme, or he's becoming more one-on-one and pass blocking with defensive tackles that are very stout, he will have the tendency to get pushed back. He's not heavy in his hips. He's a lighter offensive lineman. So that's something that we have to understand going into that. But on top of that, the average time to throw in the NFL, it takes 2.72 seconds. It takes 2.72 seconds is the average throw by all 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. That's the average time it takes. For me, as an offensive lineman, I have a mental clock in my head. I understand that I need to block for 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds max. I'm trying to block for 3 to 4 seconds. After that, it's on the quarterback. After that, it's on the play call. It's on the wide receivers. It's on the play design. If if an offensive lineman is giving you 3 to 3.5 seconds to throw the football, good for you. Like, they're doing okay. And when I went back and I watched, now is Brunskill getting walked back? He got walked back a couple times, but he was still staying in front of his guy. He was still staying in front of his guy, which again either allows the quarterback to shift and move up into the pocket, shift out of the pocket, and do other things. So it wasn't like a pure domination. Like, Brunskill wasn't getting like dominated like this narrative keeps coming out. We know this about Brunskill. We know Brunskill is going to get walked back in one-on-one pass protection. Like, it's a part of it. But what Brunskill is doing is he's allowing that 2.5 to 3.5 seconds to allow the quarterback to get rid of the ball. It's at a certain point, people need to understand how difficult it is to play offensive line and understand the expectation of the offensive line. The expectation is to block for 3 seconds. 3 seconds. And if it's more than 3 seconds, that responsibility then transfers onto the play designer and quarterback and how they're executing. So again, is Brunskill like the most dominant starting right guard we've ever seen? No. And we know that. We know, but Brunskill is more than serviceable. And he gets crapped on way more than he deserves. He, in my opinion, for like what he is, his path to development, like, man, like, some of these people are ruthless. And it is what it is. Like, that's how you have to evaluate offensive linemen. If an offensive lineman is holding blocks for 3 seconds, he's doing his job. He's doing his job. So it is, I think, within the realm of understanding what Brunskill is capable of, what we're asking him to do, I still think he did an okay job. I don't think he deserves the slander that he's been getting. Mike McGlinchey, I will talk about this from Mike McGlinchey, though. I would say Mike McGlinchey took a step back this week in regards to his technique, and I have a pretty good feeling of what that was. So as an offensive lineman, again, playing offensive line is so hard. What you have to do is you are basically catching these massive defensive linemen. Are they going to bull rush you? Are they going to counter? Are they going to set up outside speed, counter inside? Are they showing inside move and then countering outside? Are they showing outside speed, then going to bull rush you? Like, there's a lot of things that you're processing as an offensive lineman. And so when you don't become confident in your technique, and you're not confident on just being able to react, and you're so focused on like doing the right thing and doing the right technique, you begin to press. Part of the things that we indicated with Mike was pressing, thinking too much. You can tell and sense when a certain player is confident and not confident. So I think with Mike McGlinchey, he did okay. I think for the most part, like, he was able to, again, what we're talking about, baseline for pass protection, 3 seconds. I think he did his job in regards to that realm of understanding, pass blocking his guys for up to 3 seconds. But you saw his technique starting to, he didn't look comfortable. He didn't look confident in his technique. His footwork looked jittery. He reverted back a little bit to some of the things that we had seen. He almost got caught. We talk about it all the time, how sometimes he crosses his feet. He crossed his feet. Defender punched him, and he would have landed on his back, but he grabbed the defender's pads to keep him up. So again, with McGlinchey, it's just about, he can do it. Like, he can do it. He did it for 2 weeks straight. It's being consistent throughout the season. Is that the biggest thing that we're asking for from Mike McGlinchey? But even though, let's say, it wasn't as consistent as we had seen the first 2 weeks, it still wasn't. It still wasn't terrible. Like, it still wasn't terrible. He still did his job. He still gave Jimmy Garoppolo enough time to throw. I went back and watched every snap of him in pass blocking. He did his job. Like, I can critique his technique and how he did his job and say there's room for improvement, but it doesn't change the fact that he gave his quarterback time to throw the football. So I don't think that Mike McGlinchey. Now, again, was there plenty of room for improvement? Did we see a slight regression in regards to technique and maybe pressing a little bit too much? Yeah, we did. But it was still good enough. That's the point. It was still good enough. So I'm not now. So now when we go to Seattle, that's what we're going to be looking at. Is Mike going to kind of settle back down and fall back into place with his technique, or is it going to become more of a pressing situation? And we'll find out. We'll find out. I really don't think the offensive line is that big of an issue that everyone's making it seem. I think I saw some tweet while I was on here. Someone like demolishing Brunskill and McGlinchey. And again, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Now, it's not ideal, but again, not seeing it. And so this is one of the things. Oh, sorry. I need to answer that question. All right. Keith, I'm coming back. Super chats, we know the rules. Go to the front. Lil Lord Stewie says, should we resign Sherman and also sign Todd Gurley? I'm completely out on Todd Gurley. I think there's a reason why Todd Gurley isn't being mentioned by anyone in NFL league circles. I think there's a reason he's not on a team. I'm out on Todd Gurley. In regards to Richard Sherman, I know. So again, if you guys only know me through YouTube, I have an Instagram account, I have a Twitter account, Facebook account. This whole brand, the SF Niners, got started on Instagram. So Instagram right now is our biggest platform. And because of what we've been able to do with Instagram is we've been able to build a ton of legitimate connections and sources to these types of situations. So I'm not going to give up the source. I'm not going to it's really hard for me. I want to tell you, like, I want to tell you the source, and like, but again, I'm not a reporter. I'm trying to walk a fine line. But I know for a fact that Richard Sherman was definitely open to re-signing with the 49ers and has been for months. He is absolutely 100% open to returning to the 49ers. However, it has to be a two-way street. And I think you guys can see what I'm getting to. It has to be a two-way street. And as of right now, it's not a two-way street. It's not. Even as late as last week. As late as last week is when I spoke to the source. And what I heard is that Sherman and John Lynch have spoke. They spoke last week. And the word is that Lynch told Sherman that they are okay with their cornerback situation right now. They're okay. And that, so to me, that kind of closes the door on any reunion. Now, I don't know if that changes now with some of the injuries. But as you've been seeing it reported, Sherman's in Tampa Bay right now, like literally in the building, in Tampa Bay. I imagine he doesn't get out the building. I imagine Sherman signs with Tampa, and it is what it is. I think that's what's going to happen. I think the 49ers absolutely had. I will say this: the 49ers had the shot. They had the shot to get him. They've had a shot to get him, and he wanted to come back. and he wanted to be a part of this. Again, Tart came back, Barrett came back, Mosley re-signed, Jimmy came back. Like, he wanted to be a part of this. He wanted to be a part of this. He wanted to be a part of the one last ride crew, because, Tart's not going to be here after this year. Barrett's not going to be here after this year. So he wanted to be a part of it. But like I said, it's got to be a two-way street. It's got to be a two-way street. And from what I've heard from a rock solid source is that it's not a two-way street. So it is what it is. Back to offensive line. Again, if I have to grade them on a 3-week scale, I still feel really good about them. I'm probably giving them maybe like you might not like it either. But again, you guys know how I view offensive line. I'm giving them an 8.1. I'm still giving them a passing grade. For 3 weeks, I still think they've done a really good job. I don't think the issues that we're seeing with the 49ers is 100% coming down to offensive line. At least based on how I'm watching this game. I'm watching everything develop. I'm watching the way everything is going on the offensive side. I'm not putting the blame on the offensive line. I think the offensive line are doing a pretty damn serviceable job of getting at least opportunities for runs to break. There have been so many cutback lanes. Like, again, it's zone. It's a zone scheme, so the holes are constantly moving and opening up. You have to be able to read and react. Find cutback lanes, cut against the grain, do all those types of things. Trey Sermon, he was more of a straight line guy from what we saw in his first go at it. So, I don't know. I think I'm not ready. I'm holding this group up a little higher than I would say everyone else right now. So we'll see how that continues to progress, though. We'll see how that continues to progress. And all that kind of stuff. All right, let's get into wide receivers. So again, we're in the offensive territory now. Again, we're trying to assign issue. What are the issues? Yes, Alex Mack didn't have his best game, but he didn't play so badly that the 49ers couldn't function. That's like, again, the 49ers didn't score until the last drive of the second half because of their O-line. That wasn't the reason why nothing was working. That's not the reason. Jimmy had time to throw. They were holding their blocks for the most part well enough. We just needed a little extra from our running backs, our quarterbacks, our wide receivers. Again, it's a team game. You got to support the guys up front. You got to make it easier for the guys up front. They have arguably the hardest job on the field, not named the quarterback position. So with the wide receivers, though, I'm feeling really good about the wide receivers. It's a bit backwards. I actually thought this whole offseason that Brandon Ayuk would have been the one coming out firing. I anticipated Brandon Ayuk to have these types of games like he had against Green Bay week 1 and week 2 as well. We understand there was something going on. It is what it is. Hopefully now they're back on track. There's no putting Pandora back in its box. Like, Ayuk is here. Ayuk is probably the most physically gifted wide receiver on this team. Now, that's not taking away anything from Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is a specimen in his own right. He's like he's a mini Marshawn Lynch catching passes out there. Like, Deebo Samuel is really good, but Brandon Ayuk can do like everything. Like, he is a complete wide receiver. He can take the top off of defenses. He can stretch the field. He can come across the middle. He can make contested catches. He's an insanely good route runner. Like, I'm talking like He's got some Devontae Adams type wide receiver route running ability. He's that good. So from the wide receiver position, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. Now, have they dropped some passes? Yes. Both Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk have still been suffering a bit from the dropsies. Again, we know Brandon Ayuk dropped a touchdown. We know Deebo Samuel dropped a touchdown. Again, it wasn't the greatest. It was not a good pass by NFL standards, but he still got his hands on it, dropped it. So they're still dealing with some drops. Hopefully that is something that, again, gets corrected. I don't think it's an indication of their hands. I think it's an indication of their concentration. But other than that, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, fantastic. Mohamed Sanu, it's the first time we really got to see Mohamed Sanu a little bit. Mohamed Sanu had a really decent game. Really good to see him get targeted. Again, another situation of him. He almost had a drop, or it counted as a drop because of an inaccurate pass while he was wide open. But he was able to get his hands on it, control it through the ground, and they called it a catch. So our top three wide receivers so far: Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings. Again, you go back to the three wide receiver sets that they were running against the Packers. It was primarily those guys. They did really good. And then Trent Sherfield, he just doesn't get targeted. He just doesn't get targeted. And if he has been targeted in the past, you go back to the Philadelphia game, he got 2 passes thrown to him that were uncatchable. And he had one route where he was running a go route essentially up the seam, and he stacked his guy. And I would have loved to see Jimmy Garoppolo be able to see that and let it rip, because there was no over-the-top help. There was no safety help. It was nothing. It was just Trent Sherfield beat his guy off the line of scrimmage, stacked him, and was wide open. And like I said, Jimmy would have had it wouldn't have been a Jair Alexander situation. He would have had the entire back half of the field. Would love to see him take a shot at that, but I get it. Juwan Jennings has a touchdown. He had his first touchdown against Philly, and did a pretty decent job. So for the wide receiver room, I feel like, again, if they can adjust the drops, become a little bit more sure-handed, regardless of where the ball is being placed or whatnot, if they can just do a good, continue to grab the football when they get their hands on it, I think they're going to be in good shape. But for now, again, dealing with some drops, putting us in some precarious situations as a result, I'm going to give them an 8.9. And you guys might, what the hell are you going to give them an 8.9? They have the second leading wide receiver in passing and receiving yards in the NFL, and Deebo Samuel. I mean, I get it. And we know Ayuk is phenomenal, but I think they can play better. So that's the point. I think they're playing at a high level, but I think they can play better. I think they can perform better. I think they can catch more balls. So now I think they're playing really, really, really good. I think they can play better. It's a good thing for us. Tight ends: Kittle, Welly, and Warner. Again, the blocking trio. That's pretty much all these guys do these days. If your name is Ross Dwelly and Charlie Warner, they continue to be good blockers. They continue to play their role in the run game when it's asked of them. They're not targeted often at all. But as of right now, really liking how they're able to perform. Kittle had his breakout game, first one of the year in regards to receptions, yards, fantasy numbers. Man, I really thought on that deep ball, again, I got Twitter all riled up a little bit earlier, but when Jimmy delivered that 50-yard bomb where Jair Alexander came and picked it off, I really think that if Jair Alexander doesn't flash, Kittle comes down with that football. I really do. I really think Kittle comes down with the football. It hit him in the hands. Like, it literally hit Kittle in the hands. I don't think people are assessing like what that is like to be looking back, tracking a ball, and as you're tracking it into your hands, you see a defender about to lay you the hell out. Like, and you're not keying on that. You have your defender as you're running the route. There's no safety help over the top. So in Kittle's mind, there shouldn't be anyone near him. There shouldn't be anyone near him. But he's got his head back to the ball. He's running. He's tracking the ball. As he's tracking the ball to go like this, imagine that. You're running in your head again. You don't think anyone is going to be there. And you're tracking, and all of a sudden, you have a defender crashing down on you. So, again, if Jair isn't there, I think Kittle makes that catch. I give credit to Jimmy. I thought it was a terrible play in real time when I was watching it in the stands because I didn't indicate where Jair Alexander was. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know where he was lined up. But that ball felt like it hung up in the air a little bit. And I was like, why would you hang the ball up there like that with that safety help or whoever, like with Jair there? I was like, why would he do that? But after going back and watching it, I actually have no problems with that throw. I have no problems with that throw. I actually thought it would have been one of his better throws considering the order of operation and the context. And the order of operation and the context of that throw is one kit when Jimmy was able to decide, like, okay, Kittle won the route. It was a deep route. Like, it wasn't a quick hitter. And once Kittle broke inside and Jimmy decided that's where he was going to go with it, you had a free rusher, a delayed rusher coming right up the middle. And you can go back and you can watch it. Jimmy didn't step into that throw fully. He didn't take a full step. He did, like, if you go back to the other deep balls he's thrown in the past, 2019, whatever years you want to go back and look at, and he has the full opportunity to step in and throw, the ball comes out a little bit more differently. His front left foot veered off to the left, again, which opens up your hips, and it changes the way the ball is being delivered. A lot of people don't pretend like that is a thing, but that's a thing. Like, you have a guy, free rusher in your face, and you're trying to throw the ball 50 yards downfield to the point where you can't fully step into your throw. You kind of got to sidestep, open up your hips so that you can get that ball out of there. That's a hard freaking throw. And it traveled 50 yards in the air, and for it to land, for Kittle to get his hands on it, I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that. I don't call that. A lot of people want to call that an overthrow. If the ball is hitting you in the hands, it is not an overthrow by my definition. To me, a quarterback's job is to give the receiver a chance to make a play on the football. Jimmy Garoppolo put it in a position where it was away from the defender that was on Kittle originally. Kittle got his hands on it. It was just a better play by Jair Alexander. Fantastic play by Jair Alexander. But for the most part, again, we're focusing on tight ends. Kittle's 1A. He's the best tight end in the NFL. As a group, 9.9. I'm giving the tight ends 9.9. I think they might be performing as arguably the best unit on the field, which naturally comes down to just being Kittle, because Kittle plays the most out of that group. And Kittle is playing at arguably the highest level I've ever seen him play at. So that being said, I'm giving the tight end group, which is essentially Kittle, 9.9. That's how good. That's how good I think he's playing. He's peak performance right now from Kittle. When the blocking, pass catching, yak, all of it. I'm giving Kittle 9.9. Moving on to the running back situation. Of course, this is going to be a big issue. Again, injuries, again, the main reason why this is a big issue. We're missing our top 3 running backs. We're missing Raheem Mostert, done for the year. Jeff Wilson on PUP, hopefully coming back in maybe after the bye week. Feels like makes some sense. So after the bye week, maybe we get Jeff Wilson back. But as of right now, with what we saw against Green Bay Packers, didn't feel like the 49ers, in regards to Kyle Shanahan, had faith in getting that run game started, getting it going. Typically, how they would normally get it going. They started out running the ball 4 times. And the thing is that they ran it to 4 different rushers. It was, and there's only one of them was running back. First run was juice up the middle. Then it was a pitch to Sermon, motion to handoff to Deebo Samuel, and then a handoff to Kittle. To me, that tells me everything you need to know about the 49ers running back situation. I don't think the 49ers right now, I don't think Kyle Shanahan feels confident with what he has. It was amazing what they were able to do with Elijah Sermon. Elijah Mitchell. But there's apparently a drop off with Trey Sermon, which is a bit concerning, considering, again, he was a 3rd-round pick. They traded up to get him. Doesn't really feel like they trust him to run the zone or outside zone, inside zone. I didn't feel like Sermon was seeing all the cutback lanes that are typically there for you. Shout out Bill, Big Bill. Good looking. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Didn't really see Sermon execute the run game like we saw from Elijah Mitchell, fellow rookie. I feel like you can kind of see the difference of the natural ability that Elijah Mitchell had as a runner compared to more as Trey Sermon, where he looks like he's very directional. You put him on his track, and he's kind of going to stay on his track and make you miss within his track. Not necessarily look like he's going to be a huge cutback guy. But we'll see. Again, it was his first game. We'll see. But we didn't see Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson was active. He only played special teams. We didn't see Jacques, the guy that we signed from the Bengals practice squad. We didn't see him at all. Trenton Cannon was special teams ace at this point. So that kind of feels like a big reason why we couldn't get this the offense jump started. Is it didn't feel like we as in the 49ers were trying to execute their typical style running game. It felt like they're trying to establish more of the gimmick, lack of a better word, the gimmick style plays to the edge. It looked like they're really trying to establish the edge in an unconventional way, but it wasn't working. And they started out that way. They started out unconventional rather than trying to run their base formations, their base running game, and then counter off of that. So again, I'm not in all 4 of those rushes are clearly planned out ahead of time during practice and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know what was going on with that, but it was something that I was watching from the stands that it just felt like they weren't trying to establish their run game. And out of anything that I've noticed from Kyle Shanahan during his time here is that he's got to establish the run game. Kyle tells you time and time again, like if you want to win football games in the NFL, you have to be able to run the ball 30 times a game. I believe they only ran the ball 22 times against the Green Bay Packers And again, that does not being able to run the ball doesn't translate to playing the time of possession game. You're not keeping the ball away from Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. You're not doing that. So I don't know, man. James says, watch the deep pass to Kittle. Kittle never touches the ball. Okay. Let's see. Let's see how quickly we can get this going. I respect the challenge, James, and I will meet you with the challenge. Let's get Twitter to load faster. Come on, you can do it, Twitter. You can do it, Twitter. All right, here we go. James, I appreciate it. Let's take a look together. James is saying, watch the replay on the deep pass. Kittle never touches the ball. All right, let's take a look. I got it right here. Okay. Real time challenges. Remember, tape doesn't lie, right? So we have two people watching the same tape with two different opinions. Let's take a look. All right, here we go. Share the screen. Add to stream. There we go. All right, so let's watch the play. Let's just watch it. This is the all 22 angle. You're not going to be able to tell by this angle. I'll tell you that. But let's watch it again. So we got Kittle in line. We got Kittle right here. Again, watch how long this route develops to take. Again, I'm not sure which defender it was. It might be this linebacker right here. But again, watch him spy and then free release onto Jimmy. So let's watch it. And then boom, there you go. So you see the free rusher right here. Jimmy is just now indicating that he's throwing here to Kittle. Again, Jair Alexander's all the way over here. There's no way in hell, like, you go into this game and you're like, oh, Jair Alexander, don't throw the ball here if Jair's on the opposite numbers because he's going to be able to get that ball. Like, that's just not a thought process. This is how good of a play this is by Jair Alexander. And again, part of the context is there is a rusher coming in Jimmy's face. He's not able to throw the ball. But let's watch it in its full capacity. Again, it's really hard to see from this angle, but I have another angle for you, so it's okay. So here's the full play. Let's watch it one more time. Free rusher in Jimmy's face. He kind of sidesteps, but again, that's 50 yards in the air. Now, again, what James is saying is that, watch it again, Kittle never touches the ball. All right, well, let's see. Let's see if Kittle never touches the ball. Oh, look at that. Kittle's hands are literally on the ball. Let's look at it again. Enhance. Oh, look at that. Kittle's hands are literally on the ball. Let's do one more enhance. Enhance. Kittle's hands are literally on the ball. Now, again, order of operations. First order of operation, throwing the ball. Okay, great. Look at how Jimmy threw the ball. He couldn't step into the pass fully because there's a free rusher in his face. A very important part of this sequence. I don't care if, like, I will be the first to tell you that Jimmy is not a good deep ball thrower. Like, he's not. Like, is not a strong suit. You have defenses literally daring Jimmy to throw it deep. He's not a good deep ball thrower at all. But that doesn't change the fact that this was a good throw. With a free rusher in his face, not able to step fully into the throw again. That step that he took, it was not a full full step into a throw. It was a veered off side step with his front foot, caused him to open his hips, open the gate a little bit further than he probably wanted to, which made the ball hang a little bit higher. But at the same time, this thing traveled 50 yards, and look at where it landed. The reason why I talk about order of operations about Kittle is, again, Kittle is not anticipating this defender to be here. I think you guys need to recognize that. I think it's not a part of the order of operation that is taken into account in this situation. That defender is not supposed to be there. In Kittle's mind, there is no defender coming for help. Again, there's no safety. There was no safety when Kittle breaks his route and stems it to the inside. There's no safety there. Jair Alexander comes from no man's land. And the whole time Jair Alexander is coming from no man's land, Kittle is looking back at the ball. Kittle is staring at the ball. Let's watch it again. Again, it's not the best angle right here. But look at where Kittle's head looks back at about the 30. At about the 30, he sees that the ball's coming. All right, there it is. Look, he's indicated. Let's get this bigger. The ball's here. Look at Kittle's head. Kittle's keyed on the ball the entire time. Again, as a route runner who understands the coverage he's running against, look at the safeties. This is the safety that should help. And if there's going to be another person that helps, it's number 26. Look, as he turns his head, you even see him peek. You even see him peek at the safeties right here. Watch him peek at the safeties. Peek. Peek. All right, now locate ball. Because he knew based on the coverage that he should get the ball. He knew based on where the safeties were sitting down that he should have gotten the ball. So look, Kittle for 15 yards is running, looking at the ball. Oh, where's that ball? Where's that ball? As he's literally tracking it over his shoulder, Jair Alexander is right there. Like, again, I don't know why people want to be so critical of this throw and just not understand that this is an extremely good play by Jair Alexander. We want to be super, super critical of the throw. Again, look where the defender is. Look where Jimmy is. Look at where the plant foot is going. His plant foot is veering out to the left, which means he's opening up his hip pocket much sooner than he wants to, which means he can't drive into the football like he wants to. You have George Kittle looking at the ball for 15 yards, not have any idea that Jair Alexander is coming over here. And then could you imagine? Like, expecting no one to be there, but as you're tracking a ball, there is literally a guy in your lap. So again, is it a perfect throw? Absolutely not. Nothing in the NFL is, well, that's a lie. There's a lot of perfect. Aaron Rodgers looked perfect in a lot of instances. But understanding that, one, Jimmy Garoppolo really doesn't attempt deep balls. He really isn't great at them either. And he really isn't accurate on deep balls. He's not. I saw it all training camp. But you can't change the fact that this one is accurate based on the context of the play, the order of operations, and everything that went through this. Kittle absolutely could have caught that ball. And I really think a big reason why he didn't is he had zero idea or expectation that Jair Alexander was going to be there. And that would spook me. Like, if I'm trying to track a ball and then all of a sudden, I've got a defender right here that I have zero idea is going to be there, I would say that affects the way that I catch the football. Could the ball have been placed better? 100%. But are we failing to understand how difficult it is to throw a 50-yard ball in the air with that type of accuracy with a free rusher in your face that you cannot step into the pass? Do we understand order of operation? Like, do we understand it? Do we get it? Do we get this concept? Again, he can't step into the throw because he's already turning out of getting hit. Like, and if we don't want to acknowledge that order of operation, to then be able to put the ball where his guy can get it with a rogue defender playing outside of his position, all right, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not here to argue with you guys. Again, but that's the great thing about football, is that we can all literally watch the same thing. We can all watch the same exact thing and have different opinions about it. That's a great thing about football. That's my opinion. Again, I'm of course going to believe what my eyes see. It is what it is. I understand. Hold on a sec. So, do I win that one? Do I win that one, James? Do I win that one? I think I won that one. I think, did he say something? What did he? I think he said something. He said, I could be wrong, but what I saw in the replay, it looks like he didn't touch it. He came very close. What's up, coach? Okay, there we go. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. I'm not trying to come down on you at all. I love you, James. I love you. All love for James, man. All love for James. Bill says, count how often Aaron was knocked on the ground in the biggest pass plays. This is just the Super Bowl, no clutch protection. Yeah, I mean, I felt like he was upright for a lot of the game. I really didn't feel like we got a ton of pressure on him. I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. I don't know what the pressures were after this game. I don't think it was a high pressure rate. I did feel like, I really feel like I mean, at the same time, though, it's Aaron Rodgers, man. Like, what are we talking about? It's Aaron Rodgers. I think, and a part of the context too is like I said about the Jimmy throw, is I don't think Jimmy is a good deep ball thrower. I saw it all training camp. He got his wide receivers killed for consistently underthrowing deep balls. So the fact that, at least in my opinion, that under the context of a free rusher in his face, a slight adjustment to the way he stepped into the ball, first of all, him taking the chance. Shout out Jimmy for taking the chance. Got it there. It got it into a spot where Kittle could have caught it. I think Jair Alexander changes the entire outcome of that play. And it is what it is. But that might be a perfect transition for us to talk about quarterbacks. Perfect transition for us to talk about quarterbacks. The thing is yeah, Aaron Rodgers. I felt like Aaron was protected pretty well. I don't know. I felt like Aaron was protected pretty well against us, and it's Aaron Rodgers. He's gonna pick apart anyone. But let's talk about quarterback. All right. I know this one has turned super long. We got really distracted by the signing of Buster Skrine and some of that kind of stuff. So kind of threw a wrench in our plans. But let's talk about potential quarterback. Let's talk about it. We're talking about issues, right? We're getting through the issues. We'll get it out of our system. We're identifying the issues. How do we adjust? How do we make it better? I appreciate all you guys, man. I appreciate all you guys. Again, we might not agree on everything, but at the end of the day, it's all love. It's all respect from you guys, or from me to you guys, and hopefully vice versa. Shout out Cap. Shout out James. If James is still in here. Hey, you send me to the tape, I'll take it. I'll take it. I appreciate it, Cap. But again, let's talk about the issues with the quarterback. And so, although I personally gave lots of credit. I just gave lots of credit to Jimmy for that throw. Like tons of credit, right? I thought it based on the order of operation, it would have been one of the better throws that Jimmy has ever made with the context that is involved. Again, my context is I watched Jimmy throw the deep ball all training camp, and I watch him miss almost every single one. So that's my context. I watched him all summer, over 10 training camp practices, and he missed. I don't want to say literally because maybe I'm missing, but he missed damn near every deep ball in practice. So that development that I just watched, I love it. That's a huge step in the right direction based on what I've seen from Jimmy Garoppolo. But what we're seeing that I think becomes a coaching issue, it becomes a quarterback issue. I don't know if Jimmy trusts himself to take those shots. That's why I loved seeing him actually take that shot. Because right now, I think Coach was talking about this yesterday. The Packers defense is just playing their safeties up about 15 yards away from the line of scrimmage. I wouldn't call it technically stacked box, but they are basically stacked box. And the reason for that is because Jimmy doesn't throw outside the numbers and he doesn't throw really past 20 yards. And so they have been able to kind of indicate the hot spots on where Jimmy wants to throw, and they have defenders sitting on those routes. And so that's why when you go back and you watch the Packers game, it felt like you're watching our wide receivers get rocked nonstop, right? Like it just felt like every time they caught the ball, they're getting tackled instantly and or thrown into a hit. That's honestly, to me, in my opinion, just a limitation of Jimmy Garoppolo. He's really confident in his short to intermediate game in regards to accuracy on slants and things over the middle. And he's still being accurate in some instances. But the problem is that they're like, it's almost like they're daring him to throw deep, and they're like, we're going to take away the middle, but you're still throwing to the middle. You're still throwing to the middle. Even though coverage would dictate that they're taking that away. James says, I wish I watched that replay before speaking up, but $5 well spent. Hey, I appreciate it, James, dude. I really do. That was a lot of fun, dude. I always like it. I'm always down for a good argument over some tape. But anyways, with Jimmy Garoppolo, it's a combination of scheme and ability. I don't think Jimmy trusts himself fully. I think Jimmy understands the pressure that comes along with throwing interceptions. If Jimmy Garoppolo starts to make bad throws and starts attempting to hit areas that he's not comfortable in, which is outside the numbers and past 15 yards of line of scrimmage, I think Jimmy Garoppolo understands he could get himself in a lot of hot water really quickly. So I think a lot of what we're seeing out of the offense as a whole is just some of the limitations that are being created by Jimmy Garoppolo not being able or not feeling confident to make any other throw that is not short to intermediate. And I think it's really becoming a trickle-down effect. It's because defenses are keying on what he's going to do. They're daring him to hit these long throws. He's not really taking them. And it kind of affects everything else as a result. Defenses are starting to understand they can just stack the box against us, whether it's almost pass or run. And that actually takes away both. It does both jobs. And that's where that concern starts to set in. What's concerning is, again, it's the adjustments, it's the coaching, it's the how we move through these situations. And when defenses are basically like, hey, guess what? We dare you. We dare you to beat us deep. We dare you to beat us outside the numbers. We're going to squat in the middle. And he's still throwing to the middle, and he's getting his wide receivers whacked as a result. I can tell you for a fact. Again, I watched Jimmy Garoppolo underthrow deep balls all training camp, get Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel demolished because they're trying to fight through defenders to come back to the ball, except the defender's momentum's not stopping. So when you have a wide receiver who has beat a cornerback having to fight through a defender once they identify where the ball is, what happens is your wide receivers get rocked. And so there is a, like, these guys have been getting rocked since training camp based on Jimmy Garoppolo's ball placement. And so I think one of the biggest concerns that, if we finally gotten to it, is I think it's Jimmy Garoppolo and his ball placement. I think it's where Jimmy Garoppolo feels comfortable. But unfortunately, he's not making the adjustments. And I don't feel like he trusts himself yet to be able to make the throws that he needs to make, because if he doesn't make them, he gets pulled. It's in Jimmy Garoppolo's best interest to be efficient by default. Like, almost like it makes more sense for me to complete a 5 to 7 yard pass than it is to take a shot on the open 25-yard deep comeback, because that could still get picked off. If I don't throw it like in the right spot, that can still get picked off. And if that gets picked off, that's one step closer to me getting pulled. So I really feel like that's in play. I really feel like Jimmy is trying to stick to his strengths, which is short to intermediate. The problem is that defenses are keyed on it and they're daring him. And because that's happening, I think Coach is pretty much summing it up. I'll let him take the stage here. He's saying it's two glaring issues for me, which is Coach: Jimmy's lack of arm talent past 20 yards and his ball placement. I think he's absolutely correct. His arm isn't strong enough on the top of his lack of accuracy. Defenses don't respect him, and the offense suffers from it. And I think this is the main issue in regards to what we're seeing with the offense right now. I think Coach is spot on. I don't think it's arm talent. I think actually Jimmy has arm talent. I think it's this. I think it's his confidence. I think when it comes to his confidence in his ability, like after a certain level, his confidence just drops. Like he just, like, the body language, like it doesn't even look like he's comfortable. Like when it comes to those slants or like midfield crossers, like, and he's on the money and he like whips it in there, like you're like, oh, and he's on point. You're like, oh, that was a confident, good looking throw by Jimmy. But when it comes to anything outside the numbers, past 15 to 20 yards, it becomes a like, oh, there's a change. There's a change in body language. There's a change in vibe. There's a change in, again, I think it comes down to confidence. So because of that, I think the offense as a whole is trying to work around that. They're really trying to work around those limitations that are created by a guy who's not going to push the ball downfield. For a guy that, again, defenses are stacking the ball. They're cheating safeties down. They're playing the 49ers in certain situations a certain way. And I think it all comes back down to Jimmy Garoppolo. I feel like if you go back to the situation week 5 against the Dolphins in 2020, it was the same thing. It was peak unconfident Jimmy, and you're watching the offense suffer as a result. Like back in week 5 in 2020 against the Dolphins, you guys remember how terrible that game was? I really feel like that was the peak where we saw Jimmy's confidence just completely demolish, and the entire offense couldn't operate as a result. And so I think he has a baseline level of confidence this year, but it's very fragile. It's very fragile. Again, the whole two quarterback system, the back and forth between like quarterbacks and things like that. Like for a guy who has baseline confidence issues, I don't think the dual confident or the dual quarterback situation helps him at all. Because again, the second that he starts headed down the wrong path in regards to the confidence, which I think is we're seeing that like I didn't see the confidence to start the game against the Packers. I didn't see the confidence to start the game against Philly. And so what we're looking for from Jimmy right now is we're looking for play one to the last play of the game of confident Jimmy. We want to see confident Jimmy throughout. And as you see Jimmy ride the wave of the game, you see his play sometimes peak and then drop based on the situation, based on what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. Like it's becoming an issue. It's becoming an issue. So does that mean that Trey needs to start right now? I don't know. Maybe not. Like maybe Trey needs to marinate as much as he can. And again, because again, once this pressure is heaped onto you, like Jimmy, like right now, what we're talking about Jimmy, again, these players hear all this. These players feel all this. They have family members that follow all of us and report back what we're talking about and what's being said about them. They know what's going on. So it's the same thing. Like if you put Trey Lance in this situation, let's say he doesn't perform, he's performing the same type of kind of sporadic way. Looks really good on some instances not so good. Well, how's a young 21-year-old going to respond to that? Do we feel confident? We don't know. It's an unknown, right? We don't know. I think he would respond well. I think he would be able to work through it in regards to that being Trey Lance. But again, you have a quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. He has the locker room. The locker room respects him. A lot of the team leaders respect him and have his back. So again, that's part of the dynamic, I think, when it comes to, well, who do we play? What do we do in this situation and that and this? And it becomes a really interesting situation. Coach says, you're right, Brad. You can see the lack of confidence in his feet and mechanics. When his confidence drops, it completely correlates to his technique. It's pretty interesting. But the lack of confidence absolutely correlates to his technique and mechanics. Like Coach is saying, it's fight or flight. Yes, the standard basic survival instinctual feelings that we have as human beings. Coach goes on to say he recoils and doesn't respond when he gets flustered, hence the backwards pass. He folded on that. And I think that's what we've known from Jimmy. We know Jimmy kind of is preloaded a little bit with confidence issues, and that all stems back from the ACL injury. I don't know, man. I don't know. Two for the money says, since this is a run first team, would Kyle consider getting Todd Gurley? I really think if this team were to consider getting Todd Gurley, they would have got him already. I think there's some real issues regarding Todd Gurley's injury concerns with his knee. So, and to be honest, Trey Sermon is kind of like the same. Not the same. They're clearly not the same, but they have the same kind of mold, if you know what I mean. I kind of agree with James. Like, I really don't think that Todd Gurley is walking through those doors. If that was ever in the thought process, I think it would have happened already. He's been a free agent for a long time, so I really don't think. I don't think Todd Gurley is an option. Right now, Todd Gurley is a name value. We're living off the fantasy hype of that and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really think Todd Gurley's in the plans. So again, trying to wrap up the entire segment. We've been all over the place for 2 hours now. The biggest thing is I think Jimmy Garoppolo is what Jimmy Garoppolo is, to kind of bring it back. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is I know what he's talking about. I know what Luke's talking about. I know what Luke's talking about. I know exactly what he's talking about here. But if he wants to explain it, I'll pull it up if he explains. But this is real. Like this is real. This is real. I deal with fans every day for years based on all my platforms. So that is real. And if Luke wants to explain a little bit further, I'll let him explain it and bring it up, and then we can talk about it a little bit more. Because I know our mob, he wants to know. He's like, what's this guy talking about? But yes, there is a huge difference between fans and faithful. So again, the quarterback situation, I think, is the main point of emphasis. If we also want to bring in coaching into the situation, I think the biggest issue that we're seeing right now with the offense is a direct correlation between Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo. That's really what I believe it is. I really think those two. Again, we understand how tumultuous this offseason was for both of them, and how with already the issues that were preloaded with Jimmy, he still seems to be in that same kind of spot, the same type of, just standard. Like Jimmy's going to do his best to control, like be efficient and not do too much with the ball. But unfortunately, right now, we need Jimmy to take those shots. We need Jimmy to continue to push the ball downfield because we need to keep the defenses honest. That's the biggest thing is right now is we're not keeping defenses honest based on the quarterback play and the plays that we're calling. That is a combination, of my opinion, in regards to Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan. I think that's the exact reason why Kyle Shanahan spent all offseason trying to get a starting quarterback. But they ended up landing on Lance. Well, the thing is with Lance is Lance brings an insane amount of dynamic and different ability to the offense. But again, when you can't run the football and you're not being successful running the football, you're not in rhythm on this team. You're not being able to do what you want to do, which then forces more emphasis on the quarterback. It puts more of an emphasis for the quarterback to rise above the issues of the team not being able to run the football. I think what we're seeing again, it's defenses are daring this dude, absolutely daring this dude to beat them deep or to the outside, and it's just not happening. And so it's creating a lot of log jams and issues. And again, if Jimmy could just spread the ball out a little bit here, a little bit there, like defenses are forced to cover those things. If you're hitting deep corner routes 20, 35, 40 yards downfield, then maybe the defenses are shifting their coverage. They're rolling coverages different way. You have Brandon Ayuk who can beat pretty much anyone deep. Maybe they're changing the way they're covering deep, which opens up the middle, right? Like, and so the problem is they know that about us. And so they're just daring us. They're squatting on the middle and they're just like, all right, we'll take the chance of you beating us down the sideline or beating us over the top. We're daring you. And it's just like, well, I can't make the adjustment, which again is the whole reason why I think Kyle went out and did what he did this offseason. Tony says Jimmy's leadership and personality, 10 out of 10, but it takes more than that to win games. we had a better defense and lost with him. We must move on. I mean, he can still win games in this league. Jimmy Garoppolo can still be a starter in this league. He can still do all of those things, but I think to what Brian is saying and kind of echoing what Coach was saying before that is, we also need help with the running back situation. If the 49ers are not running the football, if they're not handing it off 30 plus times a game, that makes it very difficult on our current quarterback, because our current quarterback does so much out of play action. And because he does so much out of play action, that allows Kyle to scheme guys open due to running leak and running backside angled routes and all different kinds of stuff as a result of having a good running game and speed at the running back. But because we're seeing that all kind of bottled up right now, it puts an emphasis on the quarterback. And then when you have the emphasis on the quarterback, okay, well, what does a quarterback do with that? And, it is what it is, man. I think it's a bit frustrating. I think it's a bit frustrating because I think, again, the reason why I came on here yesterday and I'm like, this is on Kyle and Jimmy. This is an offensive issue that's translating to the defense. Now we get it. Like, the offense came back. They played well, much better in the second half. And were able to actually go ahead in that game. They were actually able to go ahead in that game. But still, if this team comes out and establishes himself early and is able to get in rhythm early and operate their offense, then we're doing much better. But again, we've had almost 2 back-to-back games mirror themselves. We came out on top against the Eagles because the Eagles aren't overall a great team with a great quarterback. However, we played against a similar type game against the Packers, and we saw what happened as a result by not being on 100% on every single P's and Q's and doing everything that we needed to do, and fell behind as a result. So I don't know, man. I just feel like there's room for improvement. I feel like there's room for improvement from that position. And I think that's what they wanted to see. Again, this 30-year-old quarterback, he should be at his peak prime. It just feels like feels a bit like the same Jimmy that we've come to know in regards to just being ultra efficient, ultra conservative. And I think the offense isn't able to really expand and operate the way they want to operate. I don't know. Oh, I'm not blaming Jimmy for that loss. Not at all. I'm not blaming Jimmy for that loss. Jimmy's a big reason why we were able to come back into that game. I thought I just got done saying that. What I'm talking about is I'm talking about an offense who has the offensive genius in Kyle Shanahan, the play designer savant, in his 5th year, with his quarterback in his 4th year as a starter, yet they still seem to be handcuffed by how far they can go in regards to evolving this offense. Now, I get it. They weren't able to establish the run, so that makes it a lot more difficult for Jimmy to be successful. But to counter that point, they were able to establish the run against the Philadelphia Eagles. He still struggled with consistency. So the biggest thing with Jimmy Garoppolo is just consistency. And I think when you have, and that's when you start pulling in the numbers, right? Always, he makes $27 million a year. He's on his way to being 30 years old, is in his 4th year in the scheme. You would anticipate at that time that that quarterback would be more consistent at this stage of his career. That's what you expect. That's the expectation. And I think that's why people are kind of up in arms. Like they're kind of upset. Like they're kind of like flustered and frustrated because that's the expectation, to just at least be consistent at what you're doing. But he's not consistent. He's up and down. And I think that's the problem that people have. And I think that's translating into how Kyle's calling games, what they're trying to accomplish. So it's a trickle down effect. And then of course, if you're being inconsistent on offense, that affects how your defense is playing. That affects what looks your defenses are getting. All of it is affected if your offense isn't in rhythm and it's not working and you're not moving properly. A lot of that comes down to the offense, like, at least in my opinion. Again, I'm biased towards offense. You guys know I played O-line, so I hold the offense to a much higher standard, especially on this team with an offensive head coach who is who he is, with a quarterback in his fourth year in the scheme. I hold higher standards. I hold them to a much higher standard than I think what we're seeing. And I think that's acceptable. Does that mean that this is all on Jimmy? Absolutely not. This is absolutely not all on Jimmy. But what we keep coming back to is the consistency. That is on Jimmy. Being consistent with your play, that's on Jimmy. That's one thing that we can look and identify and say that's on Jimmy. So I think that's just where we're at. Is like we're seeing, like, it's not like there's like this huge ceiling that we're seeing. We're not seeing this massive ceiling from Jimmy where he can slang the ball all over the yard, yet you got to deal with your picks and bad decisions every now and again. What we're dealing with is a quarterback who's only throwing to a certain part of the field, one, inconsistently in regards to his accuracy, and two, defenses are just straight up daring him now to beat them any other way. So now, again, I think this is a good point. 28 points isn't bad for an offense, but he's saying, but imagine if Trey never stepped in to the stadium. It was dead silent. I mean, the stadium blew up when Trey came in. But I think the point is, like, again, Jimmy operated an offense that put up 28 points and actually led the game. So it's not Jimmy's fault that we lost the game. I don't think it is. I think it's a culmination of everything. It's a culmination of how they started the game, how they proceeded to go through the game, how long it took that offense to literally just put something together. It took until the Trenton Cannon run at the end of the half for them to even look like a functional unit. That is the issue. That is the issue that then translate putting you down 17-0, that then translates into the issue of you having to fight the way you fought. And then that translates into the issues of defense being gassed, defense being out of position, putting it on your defense, things like that. So I think it's just a combination, man. It's just a combination. And I think this is the biggest thing. Again, like, I was in the stadium. The stadium was insanely loud. It was NFC Championship style loud when that game started. And then when that offense got out on that field, it like died. Like, it died. Back-to-back drives. It died because they couldn't do anything. Like, they couldn't, like, you could tell the offense wasn't functioning properly. And you can feel that energy when you're in person in the stadium. And the entire stadium, like, went from amped to just like quiet as they proceeded to put up 10 points on us. So it's just the inconsistencies. It's just the inconsistencies. And again, becomes the hard part when you're evaluating positions. I always look at it like if you have a player with an immensely high ceiling, but he's inconsistent, and you have a consistent player that but has a lower ceiling, higher floor, lower ceiling, higher floor, but is consistent, you always go with that consistent guy. You need consistency in football. Even though the ceiling might not be as high, you still got to rock with the consistency. But when your guy that you're rocking with is inconsistent and the guy behind him has a ceiling that's up here, it kind of feels like they level out, right? If you have a guy with such a high ceiling who's going to play inconsistent, but you have a guy with a lower ceiling and he's playing inconsistent, at a certain point, that gap that has Jimmy starting right now, it's going like this, to the point where if we can't consistently make the throws that NFL quarterbacks need to make with accuracy, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's really tough. It's really tough. It's a really tough situation. Um, I just think that we know why Trey Lance is on this team. We know why Trey Lance was here. We know why the 49ers spent not 8 months, but like essentially the entire 4 months leading up to the draft, turning over every rock for a quarterback. Like, it's all part of this context. It's all part of this context. So it's just tough, man. It's just tough. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Jimmy, 13th rated quarterback in the league after 3 games. I don't know what that metric is actually based off of. I don't know if that's an efficiency number. I don't know what 13th he is in at. But I wouldn't say he's playing like a top 15 quarterback. Again, the true measure of greatness is consistency. The true measure of greatness is consistency. And right now he's not playing consistent. So that's the hardest thing, man. It's the hardest thing. And I think like Sean is saying, there's a thought process in the fan base that they feel how unconfident Jimmy is, and they're unconfident in him as well. And it creates this ball of energy that just is not good. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't again. This is a tinfoil hat question. This is a tinfoil hat question. Is Kyle purposely trying to keep Jimmy at the helm so whether he passes or fails, Kyle has washed his hands? Honestly, man, like, it kind of feels like that, right? It kind of feels like that. Kind of feels like Kyle at this point, again, if you have the locker room, Jimmy does have the locker room. Like, he's a good guy. Jimmy's not a bad person. Like, he's a good person off the field. His teammates like him. They got his back. They want him to be successful. They want him to be successful on that team. But there is a very fine line you're walking here. If you pull a guy too soon, you start him too fast. You don't want to split the locker room. Like, it's almost like you need everyone to be on the same page. It's almost like you need everyone to be on the same page. Like, okay, it's time for Trey, for it to be like a natural transition. So think about it like this. What if the 49ers get into a situation where against Seattle, Jimmy is playing yet again inconsistently. Are we going to see a natural transition? Let's say Jimmy throws a pick against Seattle. Maybe he throws another pick. Is that the time where you put Trey in for maybe a quarter? Again, what Kyle has done, he's set it up where he can put Trey in and out without really anyone like throwing up any red flags. That's the brilliant thing that he's been able to kind of do and able to get him in and out the way he is. But it also makes it for an easy transition to Trey if Jimmy is just not performing well. So I think there's a point to that. I think because again, Jimmy has won 2 games this year. You can't take that away from him. He's won 2 games, almost beat Green Bay, and they almost came back and won. He literally there was a touchdown pass to Juszczyk. Juszczyk did a lot of the work, but it still had to throw it. Shout out to Jimmy on that play to Debo. I think it was like a 3rd and 6 where he had another guy coming in his face, and he just had to freaking throw it up to Debo. Debo makes an insane catch, but you also have to give credit on that throw. So it's just a tough situation. So I think there's so much animosity just surrounding this position because there's the inconsistency. Same thing like I talk about with offensive line play. You're going to get beat, man. You're going to get beat. Did I pay the electric? Did my power cut out? I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Oh, is my light blinking? Is that what's going on? So I don't know, man. I really don't know. Coach says, I think Kyle sees how loved Jimmy is by the locker room, but Kyle knows Jimmy isn't obsessed with football. Kyle is giving Jimmy enough rope to hang himself because he knows Trey will struggle. Chess. I mean, I think there's a very fine line with how you have to manage the situation based on all the messaging that was used the offseason. How tinfoil hat, the tinfoil hat, it might be off to the side. That thing never leaves me, man. That thing never leaves me. I think there's some sense to that. I think it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. I think we know Trey Lance, I think, is going to take over at some point this year. Like, at least based on these 3 games. Based on these 3 games, if you are, again, I know there are sides, but even if you are, let's say, a Jimmy fan and you really go to bat for Jimmy, or you're on the opposite side and you're done with Jimmy and you're ready to move on. Both sides can take an objective step back and look at how Jimmy Garoppolo has played these last 3 weeks and indicate 2 things. He's played well half the time and he's played poorly for half the time. We can both agree with that, whether what bias you bring to this conversation. Whatever bias you bring to this conversation, I think we recognize there's an inconsistency at play. And so, again, the greatest measure of a football player is consistency. So that's what we need to focus on with that quarterback position. And if it continues to be someone said it earlier, if it continues to be consistently inconsistent, that's when the door starts to open for Trey Lance. That's when it starts to open for Trey Lance. Again, think about when when Jimmy got pulled. Jimmy threw a great pass to Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk dropped it. Okay. Oh, next play, Jimmy rolls out. This was before half. Rolls out, throws an inaccurate pass to a wide open Debo Samuel, and it's dropped as a result. And then Trey Lance comes in. The stadium erupts. Like, thank goodness. Give us Trey. And then Trey runs it in for a touchdown. That sequence to me is very representative of this entire year. So is the Wi-Fi, like, I'm on for 2.5 hours, man. I think because the Wi-Fi hasn't kicked my ass out yet, I'm just letting it ride because we've had so many internet issues for months. How is the Wi-Fi looking? Again, I know I've seen some of you guys been in here this whole damn time. I've seen some of you guys been in here this whole damn time. How's the Wi-Fi been for consistently throughout? I would like a progress report on the Wi-Fi for this show. So drop it in the chat. Let me know how the Wi-Fi's been. And we'll go from there. But to continue to speak on what Cap was saying, what are the adjustments? What adjustments do you think our offense makes for Seattle? The 49ers have to run the football, man. The 49ers have to run the football. It's not your Wi-Fi, buddy. It's ours. I love that. Red eye. That made my heart happy. What adjustments do I think the offense has to make against Seattle? I think one of the things that I would try to do is I would try to go deep early. Like, honestly, again, what Seattle is going to do is they're going to look at what Green Bay did to essentially put us out of rhythm. Again, they're going to go back to that first half and be like, what? You see we dropped the safeties in? Again, they got Blitz Boy. Remember, Blitz Boy lives in the box. So we're inviting Blitz Boy into the box, essentially. Just understand, Jamal Adams is going to live in the box next week against the 49ers. He's going to roam everywhere. So now what we're going to have to deal with is, say what you want about him. He's good in the box. He's good off the line of scrimmage. He's pretty good in those areas. Might not be the best in coverage, but he's good in coverage in the box. So that's going to be part of the adjustment is, again, Green Bay put out the playbook. Green Bay told everyone, like, how you slow down Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo, and that offense. You dare him to beat you deep. You dare him. Stack the box or creep the box and allow and force him to keep throwing at the middle. And just one of these balls that keep getting thrown over the middle, again, when you have a defender squatting on the inside breaking route, one of these guys is either going to hit it or tip it, and it's going to turn into a pick. So those are the things that the defense should be keying on in regards to the 49ers offense from Seattle. So I want to counter against that. Okay, you're going to play in the middle of the field. How about we come out taking a shot? Like, flip the script. Flip the script. First play, get bunch right, get them in a situation where they got to pass off wide receivers, and then get Brandon Ayuk somehow freed up, streaking down the field, and launch a bomb. And just because, again, I really think that's what Seattle's going to do. I really think Seattle's going to creep their safeties up. So immediately take advantage of it. Immediately come after them. Immediately make them take a step back and think twice. That's what I think. Again, on top of having to get the ball, being able to be run successfully, and let Trey throw it. That's what it is. That's what I would like. That's what I would like to see again. We know that's what Kyle wants to do. If Kyle is the king of countering off of what defenses give you, and I think that's part of the point of the inconsistency and issues we have with this offense so far. Is the defenses are still taking away things and they're still attacking it the same. That's not how Shanny normally works. Shanny is normally trying to, you're going to creep your safeties on us. All right, we're launching it at you. we're gonna counter whatever you're giving us. But it just seems like that's not happening right now. So it is what it is. It's been interesting. Wi-Fi is looking good. Good to hear. All right. I think I might call it for today, at least for right now. It is I've been on here for 2.5 hours. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know how you guys listen to me talk for this long. I really don't, but I appreciate it. Let's see. I think we didn't do Trench Tuesday, at least as of right now, just because I think I got the tape in my email right now. Yep, I got it in my email. So I got the all 22. So I don't know if we'll do it tonight, maybe tomorrow. Again, we wanted to do Trench Tuesday. Shout out Sean for the segment name. I really wanted to do that, but didn't get the all 22 until I was on the stream. I got it now. Its bag is secured. So maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we do the nice film session. How about that? How about that? All you guys, you take the time tonight. You've heard me ramble on for 2.5 hours. Let's come back to the film tomorrow. We'll do a Trench Wednesday. We'll do a Trench Wednesday instead. This will give me time to break down the film tonight, bring up some cut ups. Again, I want to focus on the good and the bad tomorrow. I really like to focus on the good. I really like to focus on the positives. I like to look for the positives in all this stuff, but I think there is room to look at both and then balance it out and to understand where we are, where we're going, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll do Trench Wednesday. Trench Wednesday. We'll do that. Good looking, Cap. I appreciate you. Joshua, the namer of the Sourdough Squad. Never forget that. Appreciate you, Coach. I could be back tonight for like an Instagram Q&A, kind of like I did yesterday. Again, it's a lot more dialed back on Instagram. You get the more raw me in these ones. Instagram, again, got a lot of eyes on me on Instagram, so I'm I gotta be on point on Instagram. Jeff Garcia dropping the live yesterday on Instagram. I'm over there doing the Instagram live, and all of a sudden I see Jeff Garcia pops in there. I'm like, oh, Jeff's in the Instagram live. It's like, so you get a little bit more unfiltered me on this side. Instagram, I'm definitely kind of more on a straight and arrow. But that might be coming tonight if you want to watch. It is what it is. Appreciate you all, as always. Sourdough Squad, we see you. Always representing. Tomorrow, for sure, Trench Wednesday is coming. Definitely around 1:30, 1 to 1:30. To the typical time I'd be getting on. And we'll take care of it all that way. Again, appreciate all you guys stopping by, showing love. Hell, even questioning. I'm not always going to be right, but if you guys have a question with anything that I'm seeing or I'm saying, ask me and I'll tell you and show you what I got and why. And we will always have open communication here on this channel. Your guys' input is really really respected. I know I think Coach is helping me figure out right now how to get call-ins. Again, you know who's calling in first. Coach is number one. Coach is number one on the call-ins. So I think we might get that figured out soon. We'll figure it out. I'm still new at this, so we're still figuring out a lot of stuff as we go. So I appreciate your guys' patience. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm out of here. Peace. Later.